So I mentioned in the DMT trip report that I just made that after I took my DMT trip, I ended up taking 1P-LSD, and I kind of just took it to kind of reflect on the experience that I had, and I had the choice of either going for the true DMT breakthrough or just kind of reflecting on what I experienced, and I decided to sort of chicken out and just go for the 1P-LSD. And I wanted to have a more a more intense experience than I've usually had with the 1P-LSD, because I've only been taking one micro pellet tablet, which has been 150 micrograms, and in the beginning it was a very intense experience for me, more towards psychologically, not really visually. But lately I've been kind of getting more accustomed to it, so it's been kind of getting less sort of daunting. So I wanted to kind of increase the intensity of the experience. So I opted for 1.5 of the micro pellets, so that would equal approximately 225 to 230 micrograms of it. So that's actually a pretty decently high increase in dose. It's still in the strong dose range. It's not in the heavy dose range. I believe like Erowid and stuff would say that around 400 or something is the heavy dose range, but 230 seems to be a pretty strong dose too. When I took it, and obviously I took it while I was in my bed, and I was just Silent Darkness, the whole Terence McKenna prescription kind of thing. And originally, when it was coming on, I was actually kind of getting a little bit worried. I was kind of thinking, oh wait, did I take too much? Like, is this too high of a dose for me? And I was thinking I was maybe being a bit careless, or sort of thinking that I could take on more than I can chew, sort of thing. But in the end, it ended up not being very intense. I mean, it was intense, but it wasn't something that was overwhelming to me. Visually, I was surprised that I didn't experience more visually daunting things. Or see, I've always had the impression that LSD has been something that's not as visually intense as something like mushrooms or 4-ACO-DMT or DMT, and this experience kind of confirmed that to me. I feel as if no matter what dose that I take, I'm not going to have the same level of intricate geometry that I get from some of the simple tryptamines. And I came across a report on a website called Psychonaut Wiki. I think it's like psychonautwiki.org, and they were explaining the levels of geometry. They have like I believe it's a 1 to 8 level of geometry, and then when you get to the level 8, which is the highest level, they explain it as being something that's put into two categories. So it's called 8A and 8B. And apparently, and this is what kind of confirms what I've been kind of suspicious of with LSD versus the other psychedelics, is that with certain ones that are more stimulating, and they gave the example of LSD and like 2CB, they said that these ones are more stimulating and they're less, from what I've kind of read from it, it's less likely to have very powerful, intricate geometry like hallucinations and visionary states. And then it would say that the 8B side would be DMT, psilocybin, and 4-ACO-DMT. Apparently those that side is more likely to have very, very complex, just very intricate geometry and stuff that kind of feels as if it's revealing some sort of ultimate truth about reality. And I think that is fundamentally the issue that I'm coming to, is that every time I try to dose LSD or something that's similar to it, like 1P-LSD, I'm always expecting more of a visual experience than I get, and then I'm kind of left disappointed because it's more it's more heavy in terms of the mental effects and as opposed to visual. But even on that end, psilocybin or 4-ACO DMT can be just as mind scrambling and certainly I've had more mind scrambling effects on 4-ACO DMT than I've had on LSD. So I think that, considering that this dose should be a very powerful one, and based on the kind of body load that I feel and the kind of just effect on my overall body, it feels similar to anything that I take on the other side, like 4-ACO DMT, but it doesn't have the same sort of visionary intensity that I'm looking for. So I think that, for me personally, I feel that 1P-LSD is a bit more recreational than anything that I would want to take to, let's say, have visionary states to be able to make art from, because that was my original intention of wanting to, really sort of dig deep into these experiences, is because I want to make artwork from it. And I've actually been working on another digital painting that is going to be a bit kind of like a psychedelic room with like a lady on a bed. I'll give you an example of what I'm working on right now. But I think from now on, I'm kind of going to focus more of my attention on the more simple tryptamines, because that's the kind of geometric representations that I'm kind of after. Even though it's a bit more intimidating towards me, I find it's much easier to take on 1P-LSD or any sort of LSD type experience than it is to take the more heavier visionary psychedelics. But I just think that, for me personally, I gravitate towards them more. It's just I'm someone that really likes the intensity of experiences, and I find that just LSD just seems to be something that's not delivering itself the way that I want it to. And I suppose I could take an even higher dose, but I'm assuming that it's just going to be the same thing, because like I don't need to take an extreme dose of the other psychedelics to have a very powerful visionary experience. But for some reason, LSD just doesn't seem to want to deliver itself in the way that I'm looking for. And the Psychonaut Wiki thing seems to sort of confirm my suspicions about it, and kind of explains why I'm not getting where I want. And that's not to say, like, I was still seeing very beautiful geometry and forms and stuff, but it wasn't getting into coherent shapes that I could actually sort of really analyze and stuff. It's very hard to focus on it. It doesn't become alternate realities and out of body experience type things. It just stays as a sort of matrix like geometry of shapes and interweaving geometry. But with DMT, it's just really pulsating and really it morphs a lot, and it becomes different things, and it's just far more intricate and complex. And I think that's what I really want to pursue. So I think I'm going to kind of hang up the LSD sort of experiences for a while and kind of focus on the other tryptamines for now. But yeah, that's kind of been my exploration with 1P-LSD. I hope you guys at least sort of got something out of me kind of making reports about it and telling you guys what I think about it. But after experimenting with it, I feel that there's other things that are more my tempo, I think. And so I think I'm going to look at the simple tryptamines from now on. So that's about it. I ended up sleeping the whole next day because I was just so drained, and I still feel really tired today. I'm going to try to work out, and sort of get past the drowsiness or low energy that I'm feeling right now. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed that report, and stay tuned for my next DMT experience. Peace out.